Welcome to our Monday, November 7th board meeting. The board recognizes the value of public comment on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express themselves on corporation matters. If you wish to address the board this evening, there will be two opportunities. One will be in a few minutes where we will vote on action items, and we ask that you keep your comments to those action items. Then there will be an opportunity for you to address the board at the end of our meeting during the public comment section. Only those that have signed up with all the requested information will be called up. So with that, we will turn it over to Dr. Rocco for an agenda.
Sure, you have an agenda before you this evening, board, without any amendments.
Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve?
A motion by Mrs. Kelly. Second by Dr. Malco. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Is there any correspondence this evening, Mrs. Kelly?
Nothing to report on.
Thank you. We'll move right into our liaison committee updates. Mr. Marshall.
Nothing to report this evening, thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Kelly?
Yes, I have some updates from our Parks Department and our Redevelopment Commission in Cherville. So in Cherville, lots going on with the Parks Department. We're finalizing improvement plans for the Autumn Creek Park. Reader Park improvements are done, and work is continuing on the bike trail along Rorman. And we are continuing our discussions amongst ourselves and with the town council about the development for the Ileana property. And then the Redevelopment Commission at the October meeting, which was, I forget which date it was, but October meeting, the town council did approve a new TIF district in Cherville in the Route 30 and Burr area. So that will impact tax dollars coming in. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Dr. Medlin?
Nothing to report, thank you.
Dr. Malco?
Hi, good evening. Wanted to thank everyone that attended the 5K on Saturday to raise money for the Lake Central Education Foundation. The purpose of the Education Foundation is to support our teachers in the classroom. It was a great event. It was crummy weather, but I tell you what, they endured and they got through it, and I'm very proud of them, especially one of our board members. She did not give up either. And so it was good, and we thank you for that support. Now, today, the Lake Central Education had the opportunity to be at the soft opening for Portillo's, which I didn't know what a soft opening was all about, but now I do. So what we did is we basically stood in the front of the building, collected donations for the Lake Central Education Foundation, and then the guests that came were also guests that we had invited through our leadership with the Lake Central Education Foundation and throughout the community. It was a great event. Once again, we had that group of volunteers from the LCEF that come out over and over and over again to support our teachers. And Dr. Varacco, thanks for mentioning that on Saturday. He mentioned to the crowd on Saturday that they're all volunteers. They don't get a penny. So they run around and they put signs up for the Lake Central Education Foundation 5K. There's no reimbursement for gas. It's just a phenomenal group of people. There was even one of our board members that took off work today so he could be a volunteer at Portillo's. When we talk about Lake Central, I think we need to talk about some of those cool things that we do. And I'll talk more about that later in the meeting, but we have a great group of volunteers, and it goes beyond LCEF. I see it in all of our activities at Lake Central, so thank you for that. Sorry I'm so long-winded, but it was just such a great day. And Dyer Parks, it's moving forward. They are still working on Central Park, which is on Calumet as you come down the hill. There's going to be a strong focus in that park on veterans. And no surprise, knowing how this entire community is very focused on veterans and what they have done for us. So we look forward to seeing that come to fruition. And that's all I have to say now. Thank you.
Thank you. And for the St. John Redevelopment Commission, I have nothing, but for Dollars for Scholars, I believe the seniors, or not the seniors, excuse me, the students have until the 15th to pay their dues to Mrs. Resnick. So get that in, and with that, we'll move on to our official school board business topics consent agenda. Dr. Varacco.
Thank you again. So for our consent agenda, we seek board approval of the minutes from our regular meeting on Monday, October 17th, our executive session of the same evening, and the special board meeting we had on Thursday, October 27th, to put out the tentative agreement that you'll approve later. And then additionally, item B, seek approval for the claims, payroll, and extracurricular expenditures you received in your packets last week.
Move to approve.
We have a motion by Mr. Marshall,
Second.
second by Dr. Medlin. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. We have one person for public comments, and that's Mike Kovacevic. I'm sorry, I know I pronounced your name wrong.
That's at the end of the meeting? Yeah.
Okay, we'll call you back up at the end of the meeting.
You'll be first.
All right, we'll move to our official school board business topics, regular agenda. Dr. Veraco.
Thank you. For our first set of recognitions, I'd like to invite Mr. Elliott Smith, the Director of Bands, to talk about some 2022 Indiana Bandmasters All-Region Honor Band recipients.
Thank you.
Are you on doc?
We would like to take a moment to congratulate the following Lake Central High School students who were selected for the 2022 Indiana Bandmasters Association All-Region.
Can somebody move this for us?
All right, these students were selected from hundreds of applications from over 30 schools in the area. Their dedication to the performing arts is nothing short of extraordinary. For the All-Region Band, their concert will take place on Sunday, November 13th at 3 p.m. at Portage High School. The students we would like to congratulate are Cameron Berry, Charlotte Montague, Catherine Sirkin, Liam Philbin, Maisie Redhead, and Samuel Camp. We would also like to congratulate the following Lake Central High School students who were selected for the All-District Honor Band. These students were selected from hundreds of applications of over 20 high schools in the area, along with their people to the right. They're subbing out, okay. Their excellence in the performing arts, again, is nothing short of extraordinary. We have a long list of students in this group as well, including Jayla Parks, Nadine Batista, Chloe Musgrave, Jacob Youngsma, Landon LaRue, Dominic Punty, Avery Diedrich, Matthew Borowski, Gracie Cockrell, and Alex Magaha.
Could we have two pictures, one for each level?
We can, yeah. Let's have all district people move to your left. We'll have you guys over here. And then Sam, you guys can stay over here. They want two different pictures. Yep. Yep.
Congratulations, Elliot.
While they are working on their
My feet are sticking
paperwork,
out?
I have to say, the bands, if you've not been to a high school or junior high band concert or a choral concert, you're missing something. And the jazz band is outstanding too, and the percussion ensemble. Try to make some of those at the high school. It's great entertainment. They're very talented. Sorry.
Now I'd like to introduce Mrs. Novak, high school principal, to talk about National Merit Commendations.
Thank you, everybody. President Seuss, the school board members, Dr. Veraco, and our district administrators. These next 8 students that we're going to recognize, they received a letter of commendation from the National Merit Scholarship Corporation for outstanding performance on the 2021 PSAT NMSQT exam. To put that in perspective, there was about 2 million test takers, all the juniors in the United States taking this exam, and these students were in the top 50,000, the top 2/3 of them. So we are extremely proud of their accomplishments. So I'd like to call them down. Kai Blankenship, Gunnar Dahl, Nicholas DeVries, Benjamin DeFilippo, Kyle Helton, Nachiket Magesh, Cassandra Smolin, and last but certainly not least, Trevor Pulaski. Thank you so much.
Okay, so for our honorees, we are going to continue with the business meeting of the board. If you need to get home for other activities, this is a good time to sneak out. You're certainly welcome to stay for the remainder of our meeting.
Could I interrupt for a minute while we're waiting? I see Mr. Rohde standing up back there. And I think you are the coach of the boys cross country that did so well and went to state. Congratulations. Yay. From all of us, right?
Okay, my second item is to seek board approval to go to Indianapolis November 30th through December 2nd for the annual superintendent's conference in Indianapolis. Thank you.
We have a motion by Dr. Medlin. Second by Mrs. Kelly. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion passes.
Thank you. My third item is to mention to the board that we have made a slight minor change in our practice for public comments tonight. After our last meeting, we had several minor students comment at the meeting. I did hear from a couple of parents who didn't know their children were going to speak. and they were concerned about their identity being out there and with not knowing what they were going to say. So we added a third sheet this evening for minor students. It's an option. They can still sign up on the regular public comment sheet and participate with all of the other folks who are 18 and above who decide to make comments. But the reason we'll do them separately after the adults, the 18-year-old and over people, is so that while their comments and their image and likeness can appear on the live stream, we will not have them be part of the archived piece. So the recorded piece that gets saved onto the web will not include the minor student comments. I spoke with Luke Britt, the public access counselor, about this, and he indicated that the portion of our board meeting that we have to archive is the business meeting of the board, that technically we don't have to archive any comments that come at the end of the meeting. We always have, and unless the board at some future date wants to discuss it, I don't see us changing that part of the practice. But I just want to clarify that the thing is that the students, if they come to the microphone, their comments will be heard on the live version, but they will not be saved for eternity on the archived version. Those same students have the choice, though, if they want their message to live on, can sign up for the regular sheet. That may not satisfy all of the people who say, I didn't know my child was going to comment. And that, it's just that we are a public meeting, so I don't think we can tell a minor child they cannot sign up with all of the other adults. So I just wanted to share that piece with the board. Are there any questions at this time?
No, I think it's a good practice, so.
Absolutely.
Okay, and then my final item is to seek board approval for all of the raises that you received in your packet last week. All of the minor changes to our collective bargaining agreement, it is virtually unchanged from last year because we had to work through with the Indiana Employee Relations Board to get the language that would pass muster with those folks. And so you see some number changes there and some dates, but by and large, the language has stayed the same in that collective bargaining agreement. And so seek board approval for those raises for staff at this time.
Motion to approve?
We have a motion by Mrs. Kelly,
Second?
second by Mr. Marshall. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, I do. My only comment, and I will say it probably every time we vote, is, and I don't know the answer as to how you do this, but more attention to parapros. I know you're starting training. I've heard that through the grapevine, and I think that's really good. But, the in and out that we have with the parapros, if somehow we can, and I don't know the answer, but again, that's my concern, is what we can do to solidify that group so there's consistency and they're well-trained and all that. That may be very difficult to do, but I appreciate your attempts at it. Thank you.
Any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. So we'll move on to our Director of Human Resources Personnel, Mrs. Mucha.
Thank you. I'm recommending the following personnel be approved. I just want to bring your attention to Roman numeral 2B, number 1. That resignation should be for softball, not football.
I would like to move that we accept. I would like to move that we accept Mrs. Mucha's recommendation with that change from football to JV softball.
We have a motion by Dr. Malko,
Second?
a second by Dr. Medlin. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Move right on to our Director of Primary Education, Dr. Bracy.
Good evening. I am seeking approval for the professional leave request you have in your packets.
Move to approve.
We have a motion by Mr. Marshall, and I will second that. Any discussion?
I do have some, I'm so sorry, but I'm so proud of Emily Marek. I see she's doing 3 presentations. Emily is a teacher at Bibbage, And the fact that she is willing to go out and use her skills and her talents and train other educators in music is phenomenal. So
I
just
agree.
want to give a shout out to that. Thank you.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our Director of Secondary Education, Mrs. Castaneda.
Thank you. For my first item, I am seeking your approval for the professional leave request.
Motion to approve?
Motion by Mrs. Kelly,
I'd like to second that.
second by Dr. Malco. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. And for my second item, I am seeking your approval for the field trip requests that were in your board packet.
I make a motion that we accept Mrs. Castaneda's field trip request.
We have a motion by Dr. Malco,
Second.
second by Mr. Marshall. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Move right along to our Director of Student Services, Mrs. Grimala.
Thank you. I am seeking approval for the professional leave request that was included in your packet.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Marshall,
Second.
second by Dr. Medlin. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Right on to our Director of Business Services, Mr. James.
Thank you. My first item is to seek your approval for the 2-year lease agreement for our property at 101st and Blaine, and award that lease to Katz Family Farms, as included in your board packet.
Do we have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we accept Mr. James's recommendation.
I will
Motion-
second that.
Motion by Dr. Malco and a second by Ms. Kelly. Any discussion?
And I believe you said that there were three bids that came in?
That is correct.
Okay, that's good. Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. And then my last item is to seek your approval for the donations that were listed in your board packet.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mr. Marshall. And I will second that. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
So with that, we will move on to our public comments. We'd just like to remind everyone that public comments are for the board to consider. The time is not set aside for a back and forth debate. If you ask a question and we're able to answer you, that will be part of your allotted time. All statements should be directed to the board president, and no person may address or question board members individually. Each person signed up with the information requested on the sign-up sheet will have 3 minutes to address the board. You will be alerted when you have 15 seconds left, and we will ask that you wrap up your comments. The public comment portion of the meeting is limited to 30 minutes unless extended by the board. We also ask that you refrain from personal attacks or derogatory statements about any student, school employee, or anyone else, whether in attendance or not. With that, we will call up our first speaker, and Mike Kovasade.
Good evening. My name is Mike Mile Kovacevic, 9885 Meadowrose Lane, St. John, Indiana. I just would like to address from the last school board meeting, per the statements of each school board member during the last school board meeting, the school board acknowledged their position is anti-Christian per their statements. They all support the signs and messaging on the signs. If the messaging is anti-Christian and the school board agrees with the signs messaging, the logical conclusion is that the Lake Central School Board members are anti-Christian. In a town named after St. John, consenting for these anti-Christian ideologies is blasphemous. The sign read, "Science is real." You must be talking about the jabs where Americans were told, take 1 and you're done. Maybe 2, now 3, 4, 5. CDC director is now sick with COVID the second time. Also, military and businesses were denied religious exemptions and they were firing employees. Black Lives Matter. All 3 founders acknowledged that they're Marxist ideologies. Marxism is anti-Christian. Love is love. Per the FBI's Child Sex Abuse Task Force, love is labeled and associated with arrested pedophiles. Feminism is for everyone. Feminism pushed abortion during Roe versus Wade, sacrifices to Moloch and demons. Margaret Sanger pushed abortions in Planned Parenthood, which are in every black neighborhood. Humans are legal, meaning school board doesn't believe in borders. Then why doesn't the Lake Central School Board open up their school district borders to Gary, Indiana? Kindness is everything. It's a blanket generic statement which is a cover for the above radical ideologies, anti-Christian, so that no one can attack the above radical anti-Christian slogans. The signs were removed, but another Feminism is for Everyone sign was just recently spotted last week in a high school. My fellow Christian constituents, silence is consent. Biblical and historical context for Christians to participate in our local government and in politics in general has been established. The first Speaker of the House was a pastor, and his name was Frederick Muhlenberg. He signed the Bill of Rights, which starts with the freedom of speech. Per Black's Law Dictionary, rule of tacit admission, an admission reasonably inferable from a party's failure to act or speak. Leviticus 19:17, confront people directly so you will not be guilty of their sins. World War II, Reverend Dietrich Bonhoeffer, anti-Nazi reverend in Germany, said that silence in the face of evil is evil itself. God will not hold us guiltless. Lastly, Proverbs 24:11 through 12, rescue those who are unjustly sentenced to death. Don't stand back and let them die. Don't try to disclaim responsibility by saying you didn't know about it. There's one party that can define what a woman is. The other party wants to destroy the definition of a woman. Vote Nikki Kelly out. Vote for
15
God.
seconds.
Let's save our children from radical anti-Christian indoctrination.
Thank you. Anna Maldonado.
Before we have another speaker, let's please respect the rules that we've set down. I mean, this is not a free-for-all. You're supposed to be talking about issues that are germane to this board's jurisdiction. Thank you.
Good evening, board members. My son has been attending the GSA meeting since September of 2021. I'm looking for clarifications and actions taken by administrators since you have silenced his GSA teacher. On Thursday, October 20th, per my son, the GSA after-school group had a surprise inspection by 2 administrators who came to sit in the meeting, Ms. Novak and Ms. Regan. It was disguised as, "We come to participate." Very deceptive on your part. I have questions that should be answered on the next board meeting. Why would this happen now? Has this ever happened before? Is the GSA being targeted and disguised as the Indiana's AG vague and ambiguous Parent Bill of Rights that in fact say nothing about LGBTQ? Do all after-school groups have monitoring disguised as participation? The Bible group doesn't seem to be having issues with their freedom of speech despite being a religious group. On Tuesday, October 25th, the GSA students created a sign that was placed above the locker in the hallway next to a teacher's classroom, not in a classroom. The banner was then taken down after being up only 7 hours, not in a classroom. I want an explanation why this was done since it was not in a classroom. It is such a shame that this is what's consuming the school district, all due to bigots, dogmatizers, and their decomposing maggot jack-o'-lantern cult. Yet the bullying that's not handled and swept under the rug isn't on the agenda. The drug use and distribution that happens daily and abundantly isn't on the agenda. The sex that occurs as if the school was a motel isn't on the agenda. But of course, rainbow flags are much, much more detrimental to the well-being of bigots and dogmatizers. We are coming to your voting polls all the way from the far west, where pride flags are not political. I leave you with a quote: "Bigotry is where arrogance and ignorance meet. Equality is where diversity and empathy meet." Something Indiana is going to learn at some point. In the meantime, I will continue to shout it from the rooftops. Thank you.
Kathy Konecki.
Good evening. We are at a pivotal moment in our community. Oh, I'm sorry, Kathy Konecki, 11448 Valley Court, St. John. Sorry about that. We are at a pivotal moment in our community where the election tomorrow could take our school district forward or backwards, depending on the person that wins. We have a person that is trying to take over that is addicted to the mask issue, mentally cannot move on or think clearly enough to put a well-rounded education above their own personal agenda. A person who gets input into my children's education when her own do not attend the schools. I am hopeful our school board and administration will continue to progress forward with policies that will attract and retain teachers and allow students to feel included and welcomed in the district. As the school board saw radical individuals speak at these meetings for several years about their belief in faith over fear in terms of the pandemic, I want to unpack what these people have faith in and why our school board should not entertain the fears they present. Faith in Facebook healthcare, but fear of doctors trying to stop people from dying. Faith in Fox News and politicians that were telling people what they wanted to hear. Fear of doctors, healthcare workers, and public servants that were trying to save people while learning how the virus worked and spread. Faith in natural immunity, and fear of a piece of cloth on their face. Faith that the American flag could be used to justify hate and ignorance against those they don't agree with. Fear of a rainbow flag or a Black Lives Matter poster because they do not in fact believe that LGBTQ people should have pride or that Black lives in fact matter. Faith that people can attack public servants over and over again in order to be the loudest and most ignorant in the room. Faith that their behavior would be rewarded with a school board seat. Fear of parents that disagree with them. I did not put up these signs, but it doesn't mean I don't have faith. Faith in public education and faith in our teachers, administrators, and the school board to represent the diverse student community that makes the Tri-Town area so great. Faith that our school administration and school board will continue to support our teachers by allowing them to teach the curriculum they were trained as professionals to do. Faith that our community of parents, administration, and board continue to support our students in their learning journey and allow students to feel seen and heard as well as safe. I have faith that the schools will continue to speak up for our underrepresented students that may feel school is the one safe space they have. I hear often about parental choice. I have witnessed parents scream about their choice with no regard for my children or my choices. I have seen utter lack of coherent thinking and reasonable thought in the name of choice. These choices affect my children as well. Are my children less worthy because I have not been so loud? I indeed have a choice. My choice is to support my community, as we are all responsible for creating an educated populace that must interact
15
with the
seconds.
world around them. Sheltering students from the world is not having faith. That is, in fact, living in fear. Thank you.
Thank you. Alan Haraff.
Good evening. My name is Alan Haraff of 2609 Howard Castle Drive, and I wanted to comment on some things that were presented last month's meeting. First, I wanted to commend those students who bravely spoke out. If what they said is true, that their voice and concern about bullying and harassment to the board members and staff are not being heard, or they are not getting results, then you, the board and the staff, are failing them. If they feel that the only way they can fit in, or the only way that they know who to turn to for support and inclusion is through a display of the symbolic flag, then you and the board members and the teachers and staff are failing them. I'd like to think that some sort of ongoing training and education amongst the staff and students is taking place to address these concerns. I'm a retired Coast Guard Master Chief, and we are required to participate in annual training in things like leadership, human relations, sexual harassment, and suicide prevention. When I worked in education at a private school in Illinois, we had a peer mediation program where underclassmen helped mediate conflicts between their peers. We also had an off-campus Kairos retreat program where students, with the guidance and supervision of adult retreatants, spend 3 days and nights building friendships, relationships, and trust while reflecting on one's own faith and purpose. Well, I wouldn't expect the public school to offer something similar. My point is, I would hope that you, the board, are looking for ways other than a symbolic flag to bring students together and bridge differences. If not, you're failing your students and the parents. I also wanted to commend those who spoke up against the staff member who knowingly or unknowingly engaged in promoting his or her political views in the classroom through a poster. The individuals who brought this to light need to be heard, respected, and included just like anyone else. They are not bigoted, as someone inferred. I commend the board for removing the poster because it was indeed political on multiple fronts. But if it's true that this person who brought this concern to your attention felt they needed to do so at a board meeting because their emails were being ignored, then you have failed that individual or individuals as well. At last week's meeting, I was left wondering if the board knew about that poster before it was brought to light, how long they may have known about it, and if it took this issue to be brought to light to ensure that your rooms are being inspected and to be in compliance with the school policy. And finally, one of the board members at last meeting made a comment that caught my attention. At one point, he remarked that the reason the board needed to remove the symbols was so that the school would be in compliance with the state law, but then he interjected something that I thought sounded a little personal by saying something to the fact that he continues to find himself in conflict with the views of the Indiana Attorney General. I just thought that
15 seconds.
I thought that comment was a little inappropriate and made me feel or question if this board was capable of making balanced and fair decisions moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. And that ends our public comments. So with that, we will move on to board comments and consideration of future agenda items. Mr. Marshall.
I have nothing this evening, thank you.
Mrs. Kelly.
As everybody knows, sorry, mic's not on. As everybody knows, tomorrow is Election Day. Please research your candidates carefully and get out there and vote. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Dr. Malco.
Did you say Malco? Okay. Sorry, but sometimes Malcolm Medlin kind of sounded alike. I should go to that multilingual training you're offering. Maybe that would help me. No, I wanted to say congratulations to the students tonight that were recognized for their academic honors. And it goes deeper than that, and that's the one thing that has really come to me this week. I was speaking to one of our high school teachers, very well respected and just a quality individual. She said, you know, Janice, I have worked at Valparaiso and I have worked another school up here in the region. I can't think of what she said. And now I'm at Lake Central. And she said, I wonder if people really understand the resources that our students have available to them. And I thought, wow, what a neat statement. And that's coming from somebody that works internally inside and sees all the good with the bad. So I thought that was quite a celebration. And I know that our cross-country boy and girl teams did very well. Our cheerleaders were first in the state. Gosh, what else? I mean, it's been going, oh, our volleyball, my goodness. And I drove down to see that game. That was quite a game. Hamilton Southeastern had a 6'3" spiker. And you talk about spiking the ball. She was amazing. But the volleyball girls did a good job with that, too. And of course, I want to shout out about Michelle Snow. Now, Michelle Snow is a fourth grade teacher at Bibbage Elementary. She was named the Indiana Academic Coach of the Year for the state of Indiana. And I just wanted to shout that out. Michelle is one of the best teachers that you're going to find. 1999, when I came to Lake Central, and she was one of my teachers at Bibbage, and I said, Michelle, I need somebody to help me with Spell Bowl. We didn't have Spell Bowl up in the region at that time. And Michelle was the risk taker. She's the one that took the responsibility and stood with it, and look where it is now. This is the strongest area in the state of Indiana for Spell Bowl. So that's just the type of leadership we have at Lake Central. And I just wanted to share that with everyone because I think so many times we get hung up on the little interpretations of things. What does this mean? What does that mean? Should I support this? Should I not support that? But when you look at the bigger picture, there's a lot of great things going on. So thanks to everyone for making that happen. Sorry I'm long.
Thank you. Dr. Medlin?
I just want parents to know that the board and administration continues to grapple with the complexities of making all the students and teachers and staff feel welcome and feel like they are part of a greater community. And it's unfortunately become a complex issue. It's something that we don't take lightly, and the communication amongst the board and administration is taking place, and hopefully we'll grow stronger from this. We are LC.
And with that, I will pass it over to Dr. Veracco for board calendar of future activities.
Yes, so we're getting into some more activities at the school. The end of fall sports runs into the beginning of winter sports. Hopefully, some people made it to the fall play, and some other activities are coming up. Please check the calendar for those school activities. And our next meeting is 2 weeks on November 21st. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have a motion for adjournment? We have a motion by Dr. Malco.
Second?
Second by Ms. Kelly.